Hi guys, this is Lalana. Thank you for tuning into the channel. So today we're going to talk about union, the idea of union, the concept of union, and how union is sort of the idea that we have about union that's talked about a lot in the Twin Flame community and Twin Flame channels is actually going in the wrong direction in regard to what union is. And so we're going to sort of clarify that in this video today. So the union that you seek on the Twin Flame path is within you already. The union that you seek is not without you. It's not over there with your physical manifestation of your twin flame. Union is within you, and union has never left you. I think that's probably the more important way to say that. Union has never left, right? So as you guys have probably heard in a lot of my other videos, and it's something that I'm going to talk about a lot because I think that it's misunderstood, and that is that union doesn't exist in the third dimensional reality because the third dimensional reality is based on separation. So separation and unity are obviously the opposites. So union and unity are always you. It's never not you. It's simply the belief that we take on when we come into the third dimensional reality and we incarnate into this experience that now I'm separate from everything and everyone else. And the ego runs the show in the third dimensional reality. And the ego is literally separation. It's all it knows. But in truth, in spiritual truth and higher truth, you are always in union. You are always in oneness. You are always in unconditionality. That is who you are. It is just simply an experience that we're having here in the third dimensional reality of duality and separation, that the belief systems and the subconscious programming that you've taken on tells you that you're not in union, right? And so these are the beliefs and the programs that we're breaking down on the Twin Flame path through ascension, through awakening, through alchemy, that are releasing you from those beliefs that you're separate from everything else and reminding you that you are actually one with everything, and that you are already in union. You are already the union that you seek. So we talk a lot about inner union. We talk about energetic union. We talk about union within, focusing on everything within, as within, so without, all of these sort of things. What this actually means is that you are already and always in union with your higher self. There is no separation. God, source, creator, your oversoul, your monad soul, your twin soul, all of these sort of things, they are all one. They're all one. They're never separate from one another. It's only due to the third dimensional reality that we're experiencing that we explain things through the separation lens, because that's the only way in the third dimensional reality that we actually communicate, right? So it's kind of a default system that is explaining things through the default system that doesn't actually exist. And so that makes things a little bit confusing and certainly distorted when it comes to talking about separation, duality, and then we're talking about union, unity, and oneness. So the union that we seek, the union that most people seek on the Twin Flame path, we're always talking about coming into union. We're always talking about merging, the two sides, the polarities, the masculine and the feminine. We're talking about coming back into one and all of these sort of things. So it's the belief systems. I'm going to keep harping on this for however long. It's the belief systems. It's the programs. It's the subconscious mind that is telling you that you're not one. It's telling you that you're separate, right? We're seeing things through that lens in this reality, but this reality is not who we are. This reality is simply an experience that we're having. It's not truth. This is why the awakening process is so important, because it breaks you free from, oh yeah, that actually wasn't me all along. I was just having an experience that I was separate from everything else. I'm actually in oneness with everything else. This is what the awakening process does, right? This is what alchemy does. This is what the Twin Flame Ascension path does. It brings you back home to self. It brings you back into the remembrance that you are already that. I am that. I am all that is. So this idea that we have that, you really need to focus on coming back into union and merging and all of these things, it's basically just the language that we use, because most of us don't know how to explain in the third D that we're already that. Because until you go through an awakening, you don't feel that you're already that, because your ego is running the show, and the ego is based on separation, and the ego is presenting a false representation of self to you, who you believe you are. So in other words, Lalana, right? Lalana is not all the experiences that I've had. Lalana is not the karmic relationships that I've had. She's not the traumas that I've experienced. She's not the heartbreak that I've had. She's not the inner child woundings that she's run for the majority of my life. But for the majority of my life, I believed that that was me. I believed those things. I believed that I was in pain a lot of the time. I believed that I was just kept attracting the same kind of shitty relationships all the time, and I didn't understand why. I believed that this was just it. This was just my life. This was just what I came here to do. There were certain points in my life that I felt like maybe I'm being punished on some level for something I've done in some other life, So I've always had those awarenesses, but at the same time, I didn't understand until I went through my awakening that those aspects of me were just subconscious woundings that I was replaying over and over and over again throughout my life, that they weren't me, right? And so the thing is I'm gonna do a video on attachment, is that the inner child and the ego, they get attached to the experiences that we've had here in this reality. And then they believe that that's them. And so then they just keep regurgitating that same thing over and over again because it's familiar. That's what I've done, it's who I am, it's where I'm from, it's how I've always been, it's how my ancestors are, and all of these things. And so we end up creating this ancestral karma and this ancestral bloodline karmic soul contract situation that we're just dragging along with us, which is all based on an energetic frequency that is based on belief systems and programs that we have running. See, this is the thing. So this is why we're talking about, we're trying to come into that energetic, merge and all of, union and all of these sort of things, because we don't remember that that is already what we are. That's already who we are. So the awakening process, the twin flame process, alchemy, all it's actually doing is pulling back the aspects of you, the belief systems of you, the programs of you, right? The woundings of you, the false you, they're pulling those off. It's like basically like taking off 1,000, 1,500, 5,000 Band-Aids that you have put on yourself since you were like, a year old, right? 6 months old, in this lifetime and in past lifetimes. So I'm pulling off this Band-Aid because I got this wound when I was 3 years old and I fell off my bike, right? I'm pulling off this other Band-Aid because I got my heart broken in my first relationship. That's what healing is. That's what awakening is. It's pulling off all of these things and then realizing there's no mark. There's no scar. All this time I thought I had scars all over me from all of these experiences that were shaping my life and were making me feel so stuck. And once you go through an awakening and all those layers of the onion peel off, or all those Band-Aids, all the bandages start to come off, and you realize there's no scars there. There's nothing there, right? There's nothing that actually stayed there. That's not a part of who I am. right? I have this scar on my forehead from when I got bit by a dog. I can hardly even remember that, and I've had dogs all of my life since. I love them more than anything, right? So it's like, even if you have a mark, it's just the belief system that makes you like, now I'm afraid of dogs. Well, you can decide if you're afraid of dogs because that's your belief system, or you can decide that you're not, right? I can decide that if I get into another relationship, it's gonna hurt me as bad as my past relationship. That's a belief, right? That's a conscious decision that someone is making to subscribe to a belief. That's all it is. And that's what awakening is. Awakening is going, oh shit, I chose to believe all this stuff. I chose to believe all this stuff. Yes, I was indoctrinated into it through school, through parents, through all of these things, because they were indoctrinated as well. There is no fault, there is no blame. It's just, this is that experience that we're having. So when we're talking about union, we're talking about unity, what we're basically saying is, I'm coming out of separation. I'm coming out of all of these things that I thought that I was, that I'm not. And that's it. It's actually quite simple when you break it down. You're always in union. So when we're looking at this perspective of saying, I want to be in union with my twin flame. I want to be in physical union with my twin flame. And this is such a big deal, right? On other twin flame channels, on other twin flame content. A lot of times what you'll hear and what you'll see, and what the main question is for viewers, for subscribers, are you in physical twin flame union? That's the main thing that people want to know. That's the main thing that people are concerned about on this path. But are you in physical union? But are you in physical union is literally the epitome of what I'm talking about when I'm saying that you can't move into a sacred union with your twin flame in the physical if you are still anchored in a third dimensional reality. It cannot happen. So if I'm asking a question that says, but are you in physical union? Because in their mind, that's saying if you're not in physical union with your twin flame, then that means you're not a legitimate twin flame, right? That means you're not a legitimate person to be talking about any of this stuff. That's what it means. Why does it mean that to those people? Because they're still operating from a third dimensional frequency. They're still operating from separation. They're still seeing the twin as separate from them. And so they're still seeing that if the twin is not with you physically, then that means they're not with you, which means you're not in union, which means this isn't working, right? Which means the twin flame thing is actually not what it is. Which is actually, as most things in the third dimensional reality, a complete paradox from the actual truth. You cannot come into physical union with your twin flame if you are still operating from separation. It's not possible. Why? Because you're never separate from them. You are always, constantly, continually, from the beginning of time till the end of time, in union with your twin flame. Why? Because they're you. It's you. It's the incarnation of you who has come in to break you free from all of that other shit that is telling you that you have to do this and you have to do this, and you have all of those programs that are talking about all the fantasy relationships, all the fantasy book stuff, all the lyrics that are telling you like, don't ever leave me, you're the love of my life, and oh my God, all of that stuff. Those have become beliefs in this reality. And so when we look over at the twin and we go, but you're not in physical relationship with them, that's all coming back to the indoctrination of the belief system that if you're not in physical relationship with someone, then somehow that means you're doing it wrong, which is based on, I have to be in romantic relationship to be whole. I have to be in romantic relationship to be complete. That's what this belief system is saying, which is based on lack, right? So as per the law of attraction, lack attracts lack, right? Abundance attracts abundance, whatever it is. Whatever I'm believing and holding within me, I'm projecting outwards, it's coming back to me and creating everything I see around me. That's your beliefs that are creating your reality, right? So if I believe that I have to be in a certain type of romantic relationship in order to be whole, in order to feel complete, in order to feel validated, in order to feel, worthy and loved and all of those sort of things, then I'm moving from a place that's saying, if I don't have this, then I'm not enough. If I don't have this, then I'm not happy, which means you're moving from a place of lack, which means even if you come into relationship with your twin in the physical, it's gonna do that on and off thing. It's gonna do that. We're together, we're not together, and we're together, and we're not together, because you're moving from lack, right? Why are you moving from lack? Because you're moving from separation, right? Separation does not exist. It's not real. It's just a belief that we have. And so when we're moving from the idea of the third dimensional separation and duality, when it comes to a twin flame dynamic, you're always going to be in separation, right? You're always going to be in duality. This is why I'm always talking about inner union, inner work, shadow work, and all of these sort of things. Because these are the only things that are going to pull off all those band-aids and show you like, oh, I don't even remember how I got this band-aid, but somehow it was still recorded in my subconscious mind and replaying, right? I don't even remember the guy that I first had a relationship with all that well. I remember his name, but I don't really remember the relationship that well. But I've still been carrying the program that went along with it, right? I've been carrying my first heartbreak all these years. And you're 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 years old, and you're still carrying that wound because it got recorded in your subconscious mind, and it became a belief, and it became an imprint, right? And so then that imprint, it keeps playing out, and it keeps telling you that you're separate from everything. But you're not. And so that's why you want to go after your twin and come into physical union with them, because you want to replay the same kind of programs that you were playing in other relationships in the past, because that's all the ego knows, right? Because it's not remembering that it is always in perpetual oneness, and that it's always in union, that it is unconditional love. And that's all you are, that's all you will ever be, right? This is just an experience that you're having that's telling you otherwise. So this is why I'm always saying, if you're still anchored in the 3D, if you're not going through a spiritual awakening, if you're not pulling all of these band-aids off, if you're not releasing those belief systems that are keeping you locked in to programs that keep running over and over again, coming into union with self is not even possible. And if you can't come back into union with self because you don't remember that that's what's actually real, then you certainly can't come into physical union with the twin, right? These things actually do have a rhyme and reason. They actually do have a set of stages that have to be gone through before the next stage can come. I always call it rungs on the ladder, right? You have to climb the rungs on the ladder in order to get to the next rung on the ladder. You can't jump from the bottom all the way up like 15 feet in the air to the top and think you're gonna stay. It doesn't work like that, right? These are gradual stages based on what's going within. We're moving from a carbon-based system to a crystalline-based system. I'll do another video on that. So my main point here is that you are union, always, always union. There's nothing about you that's not in union. There's nothing about you that's not in union with your twin flame, because your twin flame is you, and you cannot separate that energy. There is no separation of the energy. It's only this third dimensional reality that we are living in a dualistic system that is telling you, I'm me and he's him or she's him, and I need to get over there because I don't remember that I'm already in union with them, because we're one energy and they're here to break me free from thinking that I'm in separation when actually I'm not. And that's the whole point of this connection and this dynamic, is to break me free from all of this stuff and to pull all of these band-aids so that I shift out of the 3D into the 5D and come back into the remembrance that I am union always, and then therefore I am always in sacred union. Always in sacred union. That's the Hieros Gamos. There is no other thing. It's only a belief that's telling you it's another thing. It's only a belief that's saying it has to look like this based on my old relationships. Twin flame dynamic is not going to look like your old relationships. That's not what it's here for. The twin flame dynamic is carrying the blueprints of sacred union to birth on new earth. It's here to break free from all of these other programs and patterns and codependency and, and all of these, situations that we think that romantic relationship is. Twin flames are here to break those templates, and they are carrying the blueprint that creates the actual loving sacred union, interdependent union of souls in the higher vibrations. Twin flames have a very grand purpose here on earth, and we sort of forget that because all of these other things are sort of being talked about and touted, and we're losing the point of what's actually going on with the twin flame dynamic, the purpose of that, right? So focus on union with self. Focus on taking those band-aids off. Focus on shadow work, right? Focus on that inner work. Pay attention to those triggers that are coming up. Don't be so concerned about what's going on with your twin, right? They're you. They are you. I know that's a very difficult concept to wrap your head around if you're in the beginning stages, even the middle stages of this dynamic. But the fact is the fact is the fact. At the microcosm, we are one. It's oneness. It's only the third dimensional reality that is telling you that you are separate from them. And it's only the lack frequency and the fear frequency that runs throughout the third dimensional reality that is telling you that this has to look a certain way in order for you to feel better, right? Once you shift out of that and you do the inner work, you come back into union with self and you realize none of that was me and none of that was true, and it was actually holding me down, and now I feel very free because I remember I am union and I'm in union always. And that's an amazing, amazing feeling to finally get to that point. And at that point, because you're anchored in the fifth dimensional frequency, you're anchored in new earth, that's when sacred union with the twin, who is you, is a possibility. So that's what I have for you guys. I hope you have an awesome day.